I've had my DOF Reality H2 motion platform for well over 3 years. So in this video, I'm going to give you the good and bad points of owning a complex motion platform, whilst flying the Spitfire by Flying Irons in a stunning display over RAF Fairford in the Pimax Crystal Super. So if you're interested, stick around, stay tuned, after a quick word from FS Academy. This video is proudly sponsored by FS Academy, and they've got a new range of mission packs for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 called Interceptor. This all new 30 mission training pack is designed to put your IFR skills to the test and includes a wide range of essential topics such as holding patterns, ILS, VOR and NDB approaches, VOR and NDB navigation, and these techniques you will learn will feel really rewarding and will stay with you forever. Take the first step towards IFR today and embark upon an unforgettable and rewarding journey. Please check out FS Academy Interceptor in the notes below. So it's time to get ready. Make sure your harnesses are secure because we're going for a very intense display over RAF Fairford in the DOF Reality H2. This really showcases what it can do as well, as I sling it about and do some pretty intense rolls and loops. And it gives me a good opportunity to talk about the H2 because I've had it now for 3 years. How time flies, eh? Sorry, I know that pun was intended, but it's true. It literally does fly. So the great thing about a motion rig is it is that next step in your immersion. If you've got that VR headset, perhaps you've got that haptic seat or your force feedback yoke or stick, the next step is absolutely motion platforms. Because you know that feeling when you've tried VR for the first time? Well, it's almost like that again when you try a motion platform, because it links everything together in the sense that what you're seeing is also what you feel, because it really responds perfectly to all your movements in the aircraft. When you're rolling, banking and landing and all the vibrations from the aircraft, when you really sense that, it is absolutely incredible. But it's not all perfect, folks, and in this video I'm going to give you my updated thoughts and opinions on what it's like owning and living with a motion platform such as this. Now, one thing I want to mention straight away as you enjoy this footage is I thought that a motion platform would be a massive faff. And what I mean by that is just a massive inconvenience. I'm not the kind of guy who likes DIY, okay? I don't like messing around and tweaking too much. And I thought initially having a motion rig would cause me a lot of sort of messing about, trying to get it working, getting the settings right, having to make sure that it's all switched on in a certain order, and whether it would even work half the time. And funny enough, when DOF Reality first contacted me, because I think I was one of the first flight sim YouTubers to get one, well, I actually said no to start with because I just wasn't really sure if I wanted to go down that route. But in the end, they did convince me, and oh my goodness me, am I so glad that I went for it. Admittedly, it did take a whole day for me to assemble the DOF Reality H2, but I think for most of you out there it'll be a lot easier. It's just I'm not that way inclined. But it was very easy to get going, and I'm glad to say that in 3 years of use, and you know folks, especially those who watch the channel regular, I haven't had one single issue with it. Just let that sink in for a moment, because you know how much this thing gets used. Pretty much every single day, and for every YouTube video that I've made since my first impressions has been pretty much in the DOF Reality H2, and it's never failed. It's never given me any issues at all. That is quite incredible for such a complex piece of equipment. So if you're wondering, is it a headache owning something this large and this complex? Absolutely not. It is a solid piece of engineering, and credit to them for producing something that really is fantastic build quality and very dependable. And if you think about it, why is this so immersive and why is this such a, dare I say, game changer? It's because flying in real life is all about feel. There's only so much of flying is with your eyes. It sounds a bit daft, but most of it, especially VFR flying, general aviation, rotor head flying, you know, bush flying, and obviously doing crazy things like this, which is great fun, by the way. It feels like you've got a free ticket into a theme park. It's all about feel, and you spend more time getting in tune with your aircraft like you would in the real world, in terms of your angles, the banking, the surge, the vibrations, listening and feeling for your aircraft, such as landing gear or overstressing the airframe, the pure engine note, the RPM values of the engine itself. It is all part of the experience. And that's something that did surprise me when I first tried this motion rig. I expected it to just be about the axis, you know, up and down, left and right, or whatever. Or in this case, actually, it's forward and back and left and right. But it also gives you that essential feedback with vibration as well. Things like surge. You feel like you're being lifted off that aircraft carrier. You feel the speed or the deacceleration, the thumps of the gear, as I say, landing. It's all there. And that really surprised me, given the fact that this is more of the entry-level H2. And of course, DOF Reality provides different types of motion rigs, all the way up to 6 degrees of freedom. Now, the thing is with the motion rig that I'm using, with the particular motors, I think they're SFU upgrades, is they are the older versions. So in this kind of scenario, going crazy over an airfield, doing your own air show, it's absolutely fine. But if I was just doing slow banks in a general aviation aircraft, you do feel cogging, and that can ruin the immersion a little bit, I must admit. There is ways of mitigating that in the software, and I would recommend at the moment using SimHub. I do have a video on the channel using SimHub with some basic settings. If I remember, I will leave a link in the description below. But actually, the SRS software is also a very good option. But in any case, you do get some cogging with those older motors. Now, I do believe there are some new, smoother motors that are available, and I think if you do order your H2 or H3 or H6, that can be an option for you. I'm not even sure if it's standard now. But in any case, I would love to try them, and it might happen in the future. More on that later. But I must admit, there is some cogging effects that can sort of make it more mechanical and less smooth when doing very small turns. It's something that hasn't been such an issue for me, but I know for many of you out there that have tried this, depending on what you're expecting, it might be just a bit too jerky for you. Whilst we're on the negatives, a couple of the things I'd like to mention is motion compensation. It's something that is not included out of the box when you get your motion platform, particularly the DOF Reality anyway. However, it is getting better, and with SimHub you can use a motion compensation algorithm that works really well actually. In the past, I've used a hardware solution with a width motion sensor, which basically sits on your motion rig, and then that provides the telemetry back into the software. So it means that you're always stationary inside the cockpit. That is, I must admit, a bit of a faff, but that is something that you need to make sure that you think about, because obviously in VR the headset itself does not know that you're in a motion rig. So when you move very aggressively left and right, then you're going to move outside of the cockpit unless you've got motion compensation. And funny enough, you actually see that happen in this video a few times as well, because I haven't got it quite dialed in, and that's because it's something I've always struggled with motion compensation. I find sometimes it works perfectly, other times it just doesn't want to play ball. So I hope you're enjoying this footage in the Crystal Super, doing a very exuberant display over RAF Fairford. And here we're just doing some snap rolls following a split S maneuver and then back down again. Oh, it's so much fun, folks. You know, it really, really is. It's something very, well, for lack of a better word, immersive, guys. I'm sorry to say that word, but it really is. when you connect what you see with what you feel inside the VR headset. It is the missing piece in the puzzle to give you that real incredible feeling of flight. Absolutely no doubt about it. And here we are coming back down onto the display line again. Very nice and low here. I think the only thing missing is the crowd, but I'm just going to imagine that I'm doing a practice display ready for the weekend. I had a great time at RE Fairford actually. I always go every year and it never disappoints. The largest military airshow in the world, and if you've never been, you are missing out. So in essence, folks, when it comes to motion platforms, it isn't the headache that you may expect. I think the only thing you need to make sure is you've got an available space. This is something that I have had to struggle with recently because I may be moving house, and there is a slight possibility that I won't have a motion rig anymore. But here's the bad news for you folks. My conclusion is you've got to spend the money. I'm sorry, but you just have to. This video might actually make you a bit broke for a few months or so, because I absolutely 100% recommend that you get a H2 or H3. I can't comment really on the H6, but I imagine as you go up the food chain and you get more access, you do need more room, but then you get heave as well as yaw, as well as the aileron and forward and back. You'll get all of the axis, which will only increase the crazy immersion level even more. Now, if I do end up moving to a new house, which I am hoping to, but this is the UK and the housing market is a nightmare, then I will be upgrading my H2 to an H3 with those smoother motors. So I guess it's just a case of whether that will happen or not, I don't know. Only time will tell. But if I do have to go back to a desk again, I am really going to miss that feeling of true motion and flight. And there are times that I have actually just flown at my desk because of various reasons, particularly for YouTube content, and I tell you, it feels so weird, so flat, you know, not having those feelings, especially when taking off. Because another aspect of having a motion rig is you feel the differences in the aircraft you're flying. For example, experiencing taking off in a Cessna 172 is going to feel completely different from an F-18 Hornet, for instance, or a Spitfire is going to feel slightly different from a turboprop or, you know, an airliner. You really do get that sense of variation in your flying because of the different forces that correspond with the telemetry, as I've mentioned before. And you know, when I think about it, this video 3 years into owning the H2 is the easiest video I'll make all year, because it's a massive recommendation, folks. I really do think that everyone at some point should experience motion. It is a no-brainer, and I think for the price that they're asking for these things, I really do feel it's fantastic value for money, because they are reliable, and I'm saying that from both myself using it for 3 years non-stop, as well as many of my Discord members. I'm sure there's always going to be that case where someone has a problem with their rig, but I'm just saying from my personal point of view and for many others, they are very, very reliable, very solid, and it gives you a great sort of balance when you think about some of the other options out there which are way more expensive. I think it's a really good solution. So folks, I hope you enjoyed that 3-year review of the DOF Reality, or DOF Reality H2, as we come back into land at RE Fairford after our display. This is quite a difficult bird to land, I must admit, the Flying Iron Spitfire, so let's see how we get on here. Touching down, doing the rudder dance. You know what they say, a landing in a tail dragger does not finish until you've parked up and the engine's off. But yeah, we managed a decent landing there, not quite on centre line, but I'll take it. Thanks for watching, folks. As I say, the bad news for this video is you need to buy one right now. It's as simple as that. I give the DOF Reality series of motion platforms my highest recommendation. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye bye for now.